Excellent. Now it's time for us to do and dive into some exercises to master and, of course, to become fluent when and how to use properly the past perfect. So let's check it out. We have to start. We have 10 situations here. Read the situations and write sentences using the words in brackets. Number one, there was a picture lying on the floor. The picture had fallen off the wall. Okay, so there was a picture lying on the floor. So, for example, the picture had fallen off the wall. Okay, so when I arrived at my home office yesterday, okay, or earlier this morning, there was a picture lying on the floor. So we have two events in the past. The first one, the picture fell off the wall. And the second event, I arrived, I entered my home office, whatever. Okay? When I arrived, when I entered my home office, I realized, oops, a borracha mágica que aparece sozinha. I realized that the picture had fallen, past participle of the verb to fall. Fall, fell, fallen. Okay? The picture had fallen off the wall. Okay? Again. We have an anchor in the past, which is the last event, and we are talking about what happened, had been happening before that anchor, which is in the past. If I had entered the office right now and I had just seen or realized that the picture had fallen off the wall, but it's happening now, I would have said, oh my God, the picture has fallen, or maybe I could even have just said, the picture fell off the wall. Okay? Just focusing on what happened in the past, but maybe I could focus that the picture has fallen, meaning that now it is on the floor. So something that happened and it's still affecting and it's still true now. And as I always say, the past perfect is nothing more than a present perfect which has the last focal point also in the past. Okay? Let's check the next example. Number 2, the people sitting next to you on the plane were nervous. They were nervous. Okay, so the flight happened in the past, and the people who were sitting next to you, they were nervous because ever since they were born, up until that flight in the past, they had never flown before. They had never flown before. If the flight were now, I am on the plane right now. Okay? And right now there are people sitting next to me, and they are nervous because ever since they were born until now, they have never flown. Ever since they were born until now, they have never flown before. But the case in the book, the people sitting next to me on the plane, they were nervous. So this is in the past. Ever since they were born until yesterday on the plane, they had never flown before. We have the same anchor in the past. The last focal point of reference is what changes, and from the present perfect to the past perfect, the last point of reference is in the past. So we have two pasts. The past of the past, past perfect. Example number 3. You went back to your hometown recently after many years. My hometown wasn't the same as before. It had changed a lot. From the second to the last time, na penúltima vez that I had been there, to the last time. So this is the second to the last time that I had been there. Okay? Penúltima vez. From this time to the last time that I went to my hometown, it had changed a lot. Se eu estivesse aterrissando lá agora, dando a primeira volta lá agora, depois de tanto tempo, from the last time to now, my hometown has changed a lot. Number 4. Somebody sang a song. Let us say you went to Adele's concert. Adele's Rolling in the Deep. Adele's concert. Yes, we don't say show. No, not in English. We say concert or a gig, G-I-G, gig. You went to an Adele's gig concert last night, and during the concert, the gig, she sang a song. You didn't recognize the song because you had never heard the song before. So, last night passed. You heard the song for the first time. Ever since I started listening to Adele, until last night, you had never heard the song before. Okay? Number 5, I invited Rachel to the party, but she couldn't come. I invited. She couldn't come 3 days ago, 4 days ago, because when I called, when I invited, when I texted, when I messaged Rachel in the past, she had already arranged something else. Before I texted, I messaged, I called her yesterday, 2 days ago. She had already, it's the past of the past. She had already arranged something else. Number 6, you went to the cinema last night. You got to the cinema late. When you arrived, when you got to the movies, the film had already started. So, you arrived in the past. The movie started before you arrived. Past of the past. When I arrived, the movie had already started. Again, when I arrived, the movie had already started. Number 7, last year we went to Mexico. It was our first time there. Last year we went to Mexico, and ever since we were born until last year, we had never been to Mexico before last year. Se fosse agora, acabei de aterrissar no México, acabei de pousar. Have you ever been here before? No. Ever since I was born until now, I have never been to Mexico before. This is my first time here. In the past, before last year, ever since I was born, I had never been to Mexico before. I had never been to Mexico before. Number 8, I met Daniel last week. It was good to see him it was good to see him again after such a long time. I hadn't seen Daniel for 5 years. So, last week, and this is 2016, 5 years ago. since 2016, since 2016 until last week, I hadn't seen Daniel for 5 years. If I were, this is 2016, I am meeting Daniel right now. Jesus, man, I haven't seen you in 5 years. So good to see you. But I'm talking about something that happened last week. From 2016 until last week, I hadn't seen Daniel for 5 years. Number 9, I offered my friends something to eat, but they weren't hungry. I offered when they were here earlier in the morning or earlier in the afternoon. I offered them something to eat they didn't want. They had just had lunch. They had just had lunch before I offered. I offered, but before I offered, they had already had lunch. Or they had just had lunch. Okay? And number 10, Sam played tennis yesterday. He wasn't very good at it because it was his first game ever. He had never played tennis before. This is yesterday. This is Sam's first tennis match ever since. O nome dele é Sam? Sam. Ever since Sam was born until yesterday, he had never played tennis before. Até o próximo. Agora, na verdade, o que você vai fazer é o seguinte. Os próximos exercícios dessa página, nós vamos fazer no aplicativo. Então, o Tim, a Karen, eles vão ler o contexto para você, tá? E você vai ter que acertar no aplicativo as respostas. Fechou? Então, pula lá pro Fluency Run e manda bala.